We are doing something new here, and that is an online interview, something that we're hoping to do with more of our missionaries for a couple of reasons. First of all, to get the word out on ministry that we're doing in the URC, but also to give updates and prayer requests to those who are looking for more information on what's going on in the different countries we're working in. So this is exciting. I'm hoping it's live on Facebook. This is a first for us as well. So,
well, I really appreciate it. Am I your guinea pig?
You are the guinea pig, Bill. Yes. So
I appreciate it. I feel honored to be the first interviewed.
yeah. So maybe, Bill, you could just give us a little bit of background on your work. I know a lot of our churches support you, but maybe just kind of speak a little bit about what you guys do in Costa Rica. You're in San Jose. You've been there how many years in total?
Sure. My wife and I have been here for 35 something years. We came in 1985, and we've worked in church planting since then, still there. We've worked in 3 different churches. And today I continue to pastor our 3rd church, the Pacto de Gracia Church. And for those of you who don't know the ministry, we started a Christian school in 1993. And today it has both primary and secondary school. And in 1997, we joined the Latin America Fellowship of Reformed Churches as the executive secretary. We started a printing operation, and we served that fellowship throughout Latin America, which is a network of Reformed and Presbyterian churches, coordinating conferences, coordinating education, theological education, providing speakers back and forth. And the editorial, our publishing house, has over 150 Reformed works, either original Latin works or translations. And our big project, which everybody knows, is the Calvin commentary on the Old Testament. Calvin's commentaries have not been translated into Spanish, and so we took on that project. So we've been working with that.
Okay, great. Could we break that down a little bit? Maybe you could tell us where the churches are that have been planted, the church plants that you have going. Could you just explain that a little bit?
Sure. The 3 churches that we personally worked in are in Guadalupe, which is to the northeast of San Jose. It's a suburb. And those 3 churches are in relative proximity, several miles, 3 to 5 to 10 miles apart. And then there's one church in another city, which is Cartago, to the west of Costa Rica, to the east of Costa Rica, of San Jose. The Cartago church is sustaining a small church plant to the south, several hours to the south in Pérez Celedón. And our church is planting a church up north in another city in the north of Costa Rica, about 2.5 hours away, in the city of Ciudad Quesada. And we have some other contacts around the country, but they haven't materialized yet into actual church plants. So there's 4 organized churches and 2 official church plants.
Okay, great. And those are in separate locations?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
The schools that you have going, could you just explain? You have a high school and a grade school.
The grade school is located right next to the first church that we worked in, which is close to my house. I think you've seen all that, Rich.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the high school is right now where my church presently meets, and that is the Reformed Ministry Center of Costa Rica. It's 3.5 miles from our house up the hill, a gorgeous big field of about 7 acres overlooking the city of San Jose. And that's where the high school meets, and where the print shop is, and where our church meets.
Very good. And with Clear, you have both the publishing side of it, and then you also have the organization that works with Reformed churches and does conferences. Could you explain that a little bit more, the the way that you work with Reformed churches in other parts of Latin America?
Back in the early 90s, there was an impetus by the Brazilian, the Mexican, and some PCA brethren and myself to get the different Reformed confessional churches in Latin America organized to work together to promote missions, promote theological education, to defend sound doctrine. And that interested me a lot because I'd been already working on that in a local level of Central America. I'd already put together a little association of Reformed pastors way back then, in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I was very attracted to this because there wasn't any coherence among the churches. You know, the whole logistical problem of geographics, politics, governments, different money, different monetary. I mean, you know, everything was difficult, expensive to travel. So it was an uphill battle, but we got clear off the ground. In 1997, they wanted a secretary, and I was ready to leave Christian Reformed World Missions at that point, and I accepted the position to coordinate this. And it's been, you know, it's been uphill. It hasn't been all smooth going just because of the logistical factors. But travel has gotten cheaper. Churches have prospered more. And so today, we have a wonderful network of brothers and denominations throughout all of Latin America that, you know, share resources. We share personnel. And there's a lot more to do, but it's working. And Clear has become, you know, from our offices here in San Jose, we've become sort of like the representation, the embodiment of historic confessional Reformed identity. So people look to us for good conference speakers, for good literature, and for good conferences. I was slated to go to Guatemala in March to their a big seminary there, to speak on gender ideology and scripture. It's very unfortunate that I'm not going to be able to go because there are some liberal tendencies in that denomination of Guatemala, and I very much wanted to be able to speak to the scriptural basis of the whole the gender ideology. We've postponed the event till all this blows over, so I'm still scheduled to go maybe later this year. But that's the kind of thing that Clear is seen is looked to when there are people who want a representative position of the historic confessional Reformed faith. They look to Clear.
Yeah.
So we've been providing that now for 20 years.
That's exciting. I know, having worked in Mexico, what a need there is for this sort of thing to bring Reformed brothers together. But I know, as I visited you and been a part of a couple of the conferences, it's just been really exciting to see. And yeah, we have so much to be thankful for.
Yeah.
I'd like to transition a little bit here just to what's going on presently. Obviously, we're living in unprecedented times. We're seeing things we've never seen, probably back to the Spanish influenza, the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Certainly, it's changed our world. The last 4 weeks have been it's been amazing to see how things have just ground to a halt. Could you just explain to us what that has looked like for you in Costa Rica and how that has affected the country generally, first of all?
Sure. Well, first of all, we do want to say that in the midst of everything, we see God's hand, and we give Him honor and glory, and we know Jesus Christ is on the throne, and in no way are we despairing spiritually. And also, my wife and I are well, thank you. And our church members and school members are well physically. That being said, Costa Rica has been hit, and the consequences of this will be drastic for probably the rest of this entire year and the next year. Our economy was not good. The government had just implemented a tax reform, which means raise taxes on everybody across the board. So they had just squeezed the people more just before all this happened. Um, Income was already down because that's what always happens when socialistic bureaucracies squeeze economies more. The income actually goes down for the government, and we have a hugely bloated bureaucracy. And then the coronavirus thing happened, and our main industry, which is tourism, completely plummeted. It came to a screeching halt overnight. The majority of the private sector works in tourism. And if you think of all the hotels, if you think of all the services provided and the entertainment provided for tourism, if you think of all the food, restaurants, the whole industry that provides service to the tourism, if you think of all the transport, all the buses and vans and the tours and all that, and if you think of all the airplane flights, all that has come to a screech. We don't have an airplane coming in and out of Costa Rica.
Wow.
There's some cargo planes coming in. There are no passenger airplanes coming into Costa Rica, as far as I know. We heard that they closed the airport. And so that's our main industry. Now, besides that, because there's so many people out of work of that, there's so many other stores of just that provide to people. They're all closed as well. I have various people from our church out of work, completely out of work, zero salary until further notice.
And a lot of
We've
those would
had
be involved in tourism. What
not
kind of
all of
jobs?
them.
Okay.
A couple, there two were involved in tourism, but one is simply an accountant for a large store that closed its doors. You know, construction. We have construction workers that are completely stopped. There's nobody building. Well, there's nobody even out right now because we're on lockdown. But the construction had been limping before this, and we've got a fella who's always had work, and he's been without work for 2 months now and hasn't been able to find work in construction because it already was crippled, and now it's completely stopped. So we're basically providing that family with food from other, food like rice and beans.
Wow.
Um, our teachers are on 50% salary. We have 35 employees in our grade school and high school, and we have reduced their salary to 15% because right now we have 29 families that have not been able to pay. They've lost their jobs. So 29 out of some 90 families is a significant amount. 30 of 90, that's 30%, 33% of our families are not paying tuition. So economically, we've gone into a tailspin. It's serious. We've had many meetings. We've lost sleep
I
over
bet.
all this.
I bet.
And so our school is hurting very badly. Our church we've met as a consistory, deacons and elders. We've mobilized. We've separated the church into sections. Each elder will be attending those families and alerting the rest of us, alerting our deacons. And so we're prepared there. We have a reserve in our church budget. So I'm sure the budget will have to be rearranged after all this. We're not going to spend it on some things. We're going to spend it on food, possibly. But many of our church people are paying on homes, and the banks gave a 2 or 3 month what do you call it, a proroga?
Yeah.
A 2 or 3 month
Forgiveness.
grace period. But after that, I don't know what's going to happen. I can't imagine that the banks are going to start repossessing a ton of homes, because who would they sell them to if everybody's in the same boat? So I don't think that's going to happen. But fortunately for Clear, we have paper and ink, and if a print shop has paper and ink, you can print. So Clear is still working, and we have very few people. We're allowed to have our 6 people there at the print shop. So Clear's still going, and Clear's still putting out books. I told Lester, I said, look, we're going to, Lester's my right-hand man, my administrator, said that everybody can be on lockdown. We'll lock down inside the print shop and we'll just take advantage of the whole thing and keep printing.
That's great. What about other aspects of ministry with the local church in pastoring? Are you able to do online services? Are you able to connect in other ways now with the churches?
Yeah. So I continue to preach to just 3 people that help me transmit,
Okay.
and they dutifully sit one on each side of the pulpit so I can look back and forth,
Yep.
and they help transmit. So we continue to transmit. Now we're not able to have Sunday school.
Okay.
What I am doing is providing a study that the parents can do at home, and then we go through that same one on Sunday, and they've liked that. This Friday, the Good Friday, we're going to use Zoom and give a Good Friday meditation. Daniel Lobo, one of my right-hand men, an elder licensed to preach, will do that. And so we've been using, just this stopgap measure. Now the problem is visitation. I've got a man who's probably dying of cancer, and I did go see him. I went to his house. We're not supposed to go out very much. The government is asking people just not to go anywhere. But he hasn't left his house, and I haven't left my house, so I figure we're both clean. And I did go to his place, and I'll go again this next week because he's in very bad shape. But the rest of the contact is through telephone, just using the telephone, keeping in touch with people.
Yeah. Now the other churches, the church plants as well, they're able to do the online
Same
services.
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Same
Right.
thing. Yeah.
Do you see any the positive side of this? Have you seen an effect on the people that you're working with, and the people that you're talking with? Obviously, you have limited contact with people, but what would you say the positive side to this whole situation is?
No, there's a lots of positives. If we can't see God's hand in this world, woe is us,
Mhm.
because all things will work together for good. And this has given opportunity for our own church to really draw together. There's been wonderful expression of solidarity. Everybody, various people have come to me and said, Pastor, if you need, if we need anything for a needy family, food, if I can go with you or something, they've offered to do that. They've continued, many have continued sending their offering in by transfer. And my deacon Jilson said people have been faithful. Money has been coming in. And so those who have jobs have continued to be faithful in their offerings. Praise the Lord for that. We've really noticed that, the people understand that some of their other brothers may fall into severe need, and many have said, count on us, whatever we can do. So praise the Lord for that. We have seen that. And, on a global scale, I think it's going to make Christians just sit back. And I write weekly, a little meditation for our church family. And one thing is it's going to make us analyze our priorities. We're all sitting at home, you know,
Yep.
what is it that we really miss? And maybe it was an idol, not necessarily, but maybe it was. And so it's a time to analyze priorities, and it's also a time to analyze our stewardship. Have we been good stewards? Do we have savings? Have we wasted our money on other things and now we don't have it? So all this is gonna benefit. Now, we're very concerned about the future of the economy. We're very concerned about that. We're out of school. We don't know when school's going to go back. Now, our school is giving online classes. Our teachers continue to work pretty much voluntarily because, like I said, they're on 50% salary.
Yep.
But they are continuing to do the full curriculum in as much as that's possible. So we're making the best. It's almost like wartime, and we're making the best of the situation. And but the Lord is going to be glorified in all of this. I'm positive. and we're already seeing just a really good spirit among the brethren. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed as I've spoken with my own neighbors is just an openness, a willingness to talk. You know, people are lonely right now, and
Yeah,
people are feeling in need of personal contact,
right.
and also asking questions that, I think, a lot of times they weren't asking when life was good and life was smooth. Um, but a lot of our church planters have told me that, they have seen this as an opportunity to even reach some of those people that were on the fringes
Right.
in the
Yeah.
church,
Hmm.
people that maybe hadn't shown very much commitment. But
Right.
that's certainly one of the things we need to be praying for at this time, that the Lord would, just use our conversations and our reaching out to those, who we know, even friends and family, that don't know the Lord, to speak to them about what's coming. And,
Right.
we're all going to die.
Right.
We're all going to die. Maybe it's going to be a few years down the road, but we have to be ready for that day.
Hmm. Yep.
And I think a lot of people are thinking about that seriously now.
Yep.
Um,
Well, interestingly, we've had probably better attendance on our live streaming than we've than we have in person, because we've had about 45 households present, which represents well over 100 people, and we usually don't have that many on Sunday. So,
yep, yep, yeah, that's neat. I know
well,
some of
at least they feel the need to, you know,
to
to
listen
tune
in.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I know some of our guys have said that the views afterwards, when they've been that message has been posted, it's gone. I think the guys in Italy were saying that it's gone up over 1,000 people.
Wow. Wow.
So
Wonderful. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
Yep.
Another upside to this, I think, is the fact that as a church we're having to get more up to speed, and this goes for me as well. I'm not necessarily a technology guy, but I'm learning some of these things now because it's being forced on me a bit. But we're trying to keep our churches updated through this. This is one of the means, but we're also doing daily prayer requests as they come in.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to keep people up to date so that we can pray together.
Right.
So, we certainly have, like you said, we're at home now. We have a lot more time to think, but also a lot more time to pray.
Right.
So,
Well, in a negative way, it's also provided an opportunity, because the question came up, well, what about Lord's Supper online? And that allowed us to talk about um, the true nature of the church, and we had to say, look, this is an anomaly, this situation. We're not going to do Lord's Supper online. It's not that God's grace isn't going to be poured out when we're together, when we pray, and when we join together even through this means. But there is a limit to to what the digital media can provide, and we're going to
absolutely.
wait for the time when we can get together. It'll come back. And I think some churches are doing Lord's Supper online with whatever you might have at hand at home. and uh,
Yep.
and so this was a good way to even teach about the nature of the sacraments and the nature of the church.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Specifically, what are the things that people can be praying for when they think of Costa Rica?
well, just for the country, for the economy, we when the cases continue to go up. We've only had 3 deaths, thankfully, only 3. Um, we have 550 cases, but every day is another 50. So it keeps going up. And this is a big concern because of the scare that it provides. Since we are based on tourism, we just don't know, how in the world they're going to be able to open up tourism as long as the virus keeps spreading, and it just keeps spreading. Everybody's in their houses. There's very few people in the street, and there's still 50 new cases every day. I mean, it's incredible,
Yeah.
and nobody's out, nobody's seeing each other, and there's still new cases. It's incredible.
Yeah.
We haven't been hit very hard. There's only 20 in intensive care. They've been able to keep most of them alive, and they've gotten better. So we're just uncertain about the future of the country. So just pray for Costa Rica and for all of our members that we're going to be able to get through this financially. When it's 2, 3, 4, 5 months down the road, and we're still not working, or still people out of work. That's our concern right now. Immediately, we can handle things. We're not critical, but we're looking 5 months down the road. It's going to be a different situation.
Yeah.
So
Well, hopefully we'll be able to check back in with you and talk about the situation as it progresses.
thanks.
But we'll look forward to receiving your prayer requests regularly. And we just want people to know that, yeah, please continue to pray for the Greens and for the churches there.
Well, thank you so much, Rich. I really appreciate the call, and greetings to all back home. Anybody seeing this, greetings to your family, Rich,
Yes.
your wife and kids, and big hugs to all of them. We love you. And thank you. Thanks again. And thanks for letting us share a little bit about the work here. And your brothers in Costa Rica certainly send love and greetings to all their brothers back north as well.
Thank you so much, Bill. God's richest blessings. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. Take
Yeah.
care.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.